being here, having FIFA's president here? How exciting is this? And knowing that Seattle is seen in this global respect, in this light when it comes to this game.
Go ahead.
Whoever wants it.
Sure. I mean, it is just such an honor, honestly, to have both the 2025 Club World Cup and the World Cup in 2026 here. It says a lot about how FIFA, which is, the global governing body of the sport of soccer, how much that respect that for our community there is for that. We really felt it, I would say. We got a chance to show Johnny the stadium yesterday. We had him here at the Long Acres beautiful facility, which will be a home base camp for some lucky nation in 2026. And also to talk about the Club World Cup, because, there's going to be 6 matches in 2025 with our 6 matches in 2026. That is just an amazing opportunity for this community.
Yeah, the other thing I'll add is that he did confirm that the Sounders are his favorite team now, so that can go global. No, it was great. It was good, a great visit, and it was really nice to spend quality time with he and his team. And, for me, to give a little history, a little of the story of the Sounders and the Reign and the history of soccer in this region and why it's such a hotbed for the sport was great. Great for him to get context. Obviously, he's got a lot of territory to cover with a lot of nations and the history of football. So, getting some time together was really fun.
He's quite an engaging guy, actually, and Adrian regaled him in the stories of, why is the Seattle Sounders called the Sounders, right? I mean, that was a story that you got to tell him, and he was really curious about the history of our region, why we're so rooted in the sport and how it affects our community. So it was really cool to see.
I didn't realize I regaled anyone on anything at any time, but thank you for the compliment.
How was it when you talked about the sustainability, especially with the Puyallup tribe and the ceremony there and the embracement of our community here that a lot of other communities aren't doing?
Well, he actually mentioned that we are actually doing some things very, very differently than the other communities, and particularly cited the Puyallup tribe of Indians, and it was really a kind of an emotional moment. We had Chairman Sterwood in the room with him together. He offered a blanket and offered it in really in the terms of with love, and wrapped the FIFA president in that. It was so special, and that's kind of the special nature of having a partner like the Puyallup Tribe of Indians as part of our 2026 World Cup. It just was really a big point there.
Yeah, and I think the FIFA president understands that football brings people together, and that's just one amazing opportunity to tell stories, and tell stories of unique culture in our region, unique history of our region. The chairman, when I talked about my deep roots in Seattle of almost 100 years, he was quick to correct me that or make sure I knew that they had been here for 20,000. So put me in my place. But again, just great to connect on a human level and start to put faces to names and stories and transactions and what will be an amazing event in 25 and in 26.
We hear a lot about legacy just in terms of FIFA, the World Cup, and also what your club has done. What is it going to look like once the World Cup is gone? What impact are they going to have, a lasting impact on the community?
That is a great question, and one of the things that we started with this whole project was started with legacy. We're still the only city to have a chief legacy officer, the only one of all the 16 host cities. So we focus on the programs that we're going to leave behind. The 6 pillars that we have in that legacy are around human rights, sustainability, accessibility, culture, community, and children. And we're building programs in all those areas. So you can almost think of FIFA is really working hard on the actual event. The local organizing committee is working on almost everything else. And what we're going for is a 1962 World's Fair-like legacy. If you think about the legacy that 1962 World's Fair gave to the city, it was really challenging the city to think about the city of the future and the role of technology that would play in it. And we're going to extend that legacy into, so that kind of 62 to 26, and we're extending that legacy. We're going for a 20-year impact beyond.
For people that maybe don't follow soccer closely or aren't familiar with what to expect. What are fans in for? What is the business community in for come the World Cup?
It's going to be the largest event that's going to ever hit our state. And if you haven't been to World Cup, it is a cacophony of humanity. People from all walks of life coming together, regardless of their orientation, their political beliefs, religious beliefs, all there in a time of joy. I got to see it firsthand in the 2022 Qatari Games, and it was just amazing. I was so struck by how people just were there in friendly competition, just being friendly to each other, and I just can't wait for our children to witness that, because right now the world is so divisive. So if there's any one impact, it's about how this community and how humanity can actually be united in a great way. That's such a great image. I was at the Paris Olympics, saw a little bit of that. And I'll say, I've said this before, the star of the Paris Olympics was actually the city of Paris. I expect the star of the Seattle World Cup and the Club World Cup to be the city of Seattle.
With the magnitude of the event and the Club World Cup being essentially a dress rehearsal for the World Cup, has there been any points of a need to change anything within the stadium, the facility, whether it's the press box, anything like that has been pointed out by this tour with Johnny?
This tour with Johnny, no. I mean, some of that was done years ago. There will be changes, widening of the pitch, grass, obviously, some premium spaces being adjusted. But it's all, that's all in the hopper and in the plans over the next period of time.
What was something that Johnny was maybe excited about in terms of the stadium that he really liked, that you guys thought was interesting?
What he mentioned is how much of a soul the stadium seemed to have, and energy coming off of it. We toured yesterday, went to a bunch of different spaces, different views, some of the new spaces that have been built out. And he, again, he expressed that it just you could feel the energy coming off of it without anyone in the building. So when there are 67,000, 68,000 people in it, he's excited to experience that.
One of the things he said, what was really striking, I would say, about the stadium was we were up at the Toyota fan deck looking out at that iconic view of the city, and he just expressed how that felt so connected, how the stadium felt so connected, because he's been in millions of stadiums all around the world, and obviously most of them are kind of so enclosed, but being up there, having the stadium connected to our city, he just said that just really felt special, and I agree with him.
That's everyone's favorite question. Will it be a temporary grass field for the Club World Cup?
Yeah. Look, it'll be of higher quality than previous sod installations, more technical, and technology has changed and evolved. So, but yeah, it'll come up after the Club World Cup, as will the grass after the FIFA World Cup.
How proud of you just to be here. You've come so far. You've built the city up so much, and here we are having FIFA president.
Aaron, I feel like I'm too busy to feel proud. I'm proud for this city. And I did mention to Johnny, I was born and raised here. Bellevue was a farm. And the city of Seattle was not what it is today. The soccer ecosystem was, it was there for sure as a kid growing up, going to Sounders games. But the idea that we're going to host 12 games in Club World Cup, FIFA World Cup, Sounders are playing in the Club World Cup, it is kind of crazy. Hopefully I'll appreciate that at some point. Right now it just seems super busy, and we have to figure out how to do it all and sell tickets and make our fans happy and win on Saturday and get the rain going in the right direction, and there's a lot to work on.
Adrian, just to quickly clarify, for the temporary glass, is that going down for the Club World Cup and then later again for the World Cup, or will it stay all the way?
No. It'll be two separate installations.
And Aaron was saying a minute ago, just the idea, the growth of the game in our city, how it's been fostered, whether it's the success of this club, this facility, now the World Cup coming. I mean, how special of a time is this for the growth of the game in our city? And
Yeah, it's awesome. It's amazing. You know, we up there and with the chairman, we talked a lot about kids. You know, he has a bunch of kids. I have one small one. That a lot of what we do, what we all do, is for those next generations. And legacy is a word that's been used a lot. And yeah, just excited to be involved in some small way of setting this foundation, you know, and hopefully growing the sport for the future.
Logistically,
Couple more guys.
there's been a lot of moving parts, I guess, going on here. How far in the conversations are you guys in terms of how the schedule is going to set up for the Club World Cup and accommodate it?
I would say not. You know, 6 games, Sounders group stage. We know the date, like the dates of the actual Club World Cup, but beyond that, nothing. Draw in December, I believe. So at that point, I assume we'll know just about everything.
So you're not sure yet about whether the other 3 games during the CWC are going to be group stage or knockout?
We are not. We are not.
Adrian, with that much pride that you talked about this Club World Cup, how much more pressure is it the fact that you're going to be a host and a team playing this Club World Cup, and the fact that your roster, your team, has to be that much more competitive when the spotlight is this big?
Look, Nico, I'm not sure I could put any more pressure on myself than I do I think I would implode. You know, I put every ounce of blood, sweat, tears, heart into doing right by these teams and the fans, and I don't know that I can do any more. For sure, there is pressure. I want to perform. I want to do well. I want to make the city proud. I want to make, you know, our fans proud. But it's not going to be for additional pressure. It's just because every waking moment, that's all I think about.
Could you talk about how these 2 tournaments will help pave the way to keep the hype going at Sounders and Rain Games after 2026?
Yeah, I mean, and Peter can jump in also,
Yeah.
but you know, these giant events generally have to, you know, have a step function outcome on interest. There are definitely a lot of fans in this country that come out for big events, for national team games. You know, the best story around that for me was Gary Wright, who most of you know, who was in Spain during the World Cup in, I'm not even sure, I think it was 98, and was sick in his hotel room, had never watched a soccer game in his life, turned on the World Cup, turned on a game, Zidane was playing. He's like, this is actually okay. Like, these guys are real athletes. And then watched again and again, and then it became like his obsession. And that, you know, again, I'm not sure they're all going to be Gary Wrights, but people, you know, deciding to come to Real Madrid against the Sounders when they might not come see the Sounders versus San Jose, and enjoying it, enjoying the experience, enjoying coming together with people. Like, again, sports is about bringing people together, and so again, hopefully coming out the other end of Club World Cup and World Cup, we've converted millions of soccer fans into Sounder fans, MLS fans, fans of the game at other levels as well.
I mean, the global fandom opportunity is just incredible for the brand. We actually designed our new logo with the idea of growing the global brand, but also I would say the opportunity around making a Sounders and Rain match an integral part of the Seattle experience, which is kind of what it is. But there's going to be a whole new influx of people coming into our city with the rebirth, or I should say the reemergence from COVID, actually. When you think about the hiring, people kind of moving back downtown, we're starting to see it already. And so capturing this whole new fandom group, I think will be fantastic. For the children, oh my gosh, I mean, to see the Club World Cup with the best clubs in the world, and then to follow that up with the best nations in the world coming to play, I mean, it's really going to be an amazing opportunity. I would be shocked if the fandom doesn't grow through that for the Sounders and the Reign.
All right, folks, we'll wrap it.